All right, we are live. Hello, Ralph. How you doing?
What's happening, my brother?
Yeah, good to have you. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. I always like these ones. I love when I get to talk to my wrestling friends because we get to just talk about, especially now it's WrestleMania season, right? WrestleMania's coming
Hmm.
up this weekend, and everybody's excited about it. So yeah, this is going to be a fun one, and especially after like I did the last one with the guy who was the pornography addiction expert. And when you have one that's like that, it's a different vibe than
Yeah.
something like just talking to a talking to a friend and just getting to know who they are. And I'm glad I've seen you around. I don't know if I was there for your first match, but I got to tell you, it was funny. I was training over with Johnny Jeter. You may remember this.
Yes,
I
sir.
was, I was training with Johnny Jeter, and he sent out a feeler to anybody who wants to come in. And you walked in, and man, you're just like ripped to shreds. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's
And
gonna
he
make us.
gassed me out, brother. You
He did.
remember I was in the side of the yard puking my brains out, brother.
I know, I
I was in
remember.
shape.
I know, I remember. Dude, it's so funny because I went to the gym. I've been going to the gym now consistently 6 days a week since 2019, and I thought I was super in shape. And then the first time I did one of those drills with Johnny, where you're running the ropes and then doing
Hmm.
the forward rolls, backward rolls, leapfrog, drop down leapfrogs. Dude, you just can't. It's ugh.
Well, I
It's
learned
sick.
something that day. I mean, that's the only time I went. I wish I could have been going more, but just schedule conflicts um, to pick up my cardio,
Yeah.
And I always, even now, I tell the students that we have not to let that happen to them. If we're going to be known for anything as our academy is, we're not gassing out. We're going to be known
Yeah.
for being conditioned, for being in ring shape, you know, because it's embarrassing, brother. It
Yeah.
is.
Well, let me ask you, did you start training? I mean, your whole training at Next Level Pro?
Yeah, yeah. I was a yarder just like you. I heard you talking to Flacco and your podcast when you had
Yeah.
an interview. I heard the whole thing. That's my time. Just I was there at those shows with you guys. I just
Oh
didn't know
yeah.
you guys. I don't know if you remember Lizard. He came in
Yeah.
that backyard movie. I was in
Yeah.
that movie with them when
You,
it was filming. I was one of those kids from Modesto.
oh,
And
okay. So
so
so I got to tell you, this is my claim to fame. So, because I know that movie, the backyard movie you're talking about, where the flying lizard or whatever. He
yeah,
he worked he worked in my backyard. He came and worked. He worked. Who's the guy? Oh, he doesn't work anymore.
Scar or
No, no, he was the guy who he was working at a gas station not too long ago. He was with TWF for a long time. I can't
Lockjaw.
remember. No, not Lockjaw. It'll come to me, I'm sure. But they worked each other at my show. And yeah, man, that lizard guy was kind of weird. But yeah,
He
so
is, but he's my
he's a
friend. He's
oh
been my
yeah,
friend for 20 something years now.
oh yeah, you still friends
Oh,
with
we
him?
still in contact. Yeah, yeah,
Oh man, how's he
yeah.
doing?
He works in Reno doing at the casinos doing security. He's
Nice.
out there. Yeah,
Did he ever finish
he's not
training?
doing anything with wrestling anymore. Was that?
Did he ever finish training?
Well, according to him, he was um he wrestled for a few places. I don't know if he completed his formal training. That I don't know.
Yeah.
Every time I've hung out with him, it's just we're just chalking it up, catching up, and nothing really with wrestling. It's just life and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. He was interesting, but my claim to fame is I was do the wrestling stuff when I was doing the backyard stuff. I got a call from this guy named Bob Boris, and he's like, "I have this dream for this movie. It's called Backyard Dogs," and I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's gonna have the I can't remember his name. He was the Black Power Ranger." And he was like, "Yeah, we got him set up. It's gonna be this big movie." And he's like, and I sold him footage from my backyard.
Uh huh.
And so yeah, that was right before I went on my mission. So I was gone for 2 years, and I came back, and all of a sudden my dad came from Blockbuster with a copy of Backyard Dogs, and we're the whole. I'm like the whole beginning of that movie, and I was like, I'm a movie star. Yeah, yeah.
Well,
So
yeah, I
I
have
got
credits in that movie. I'm in the
in
credits as one of the. I was
in,
there.
in Backyard Dogs.
No, the backyard, which was a documentary. That's what it's called, the backyard. The one Lizard was in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That
And
they did a whole
so,
thing on him, right? He wanted to be like Jeff
yeah,
Hardy.
he was one of the main characters. He was probably the main guy in it. But they had promotions from England and other places of the country. And this
Mhm.
guy went to different cities and shot
Yeah,
footage in different towns. But Lizard was his main guy, main character. But yeah, I was in there, and then he went to Jimmy Kimmel Live and did a little gimmick there with the going off a ladder onto a table through a table, and that was his 15 minutes
man,
of fame.
crazy.
He's
It's
he's
it,
still the
it
Lizard, man.
that,
He's still history right now.
that's such a fun. That is such a fun
That was back in
time.
2000, 2001, around there.
Right? Yeah, it was. Yeah, so I left in 2000,
Uh huh.
and so I left in 2000, and that was the time where backyard wrestling was really big, and
Yeah.
there was a big fight because I ended up transitioning and actually working pro for SPW for 3 or 4 shows, and and I got little bookings, but it's because I'm 6'7" and I didn't have to do much, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
wasn't formally trained, but I could draw,
Uh
and
huh.
so but there was always this kind of push pull between the vets and the backyarders. And that's what's so cool about TWF because TWF for a long time, those guys were always, even when they were backyarders, they were always entertaining. Like Jake doing that stuff, he was so funny. And like he
Yeah.
was just so good at what he was doing.
But we're from the same town, so I remember when he came out on the public access. I'm from Tracy. That's where he's
Yeah,
from. And it
right.
used to be called Tracy Wrestling Federation. And they were on the wrestling on the park, and I don't know what, all these random places.
Yeah. Oh
You know.
man, I gotta tell you, this is a hilarious story. And I'm gonna butcher it. I gotta have Oliver John come on. Have you ever met Oliver John?
Yeah, yeah, I did. I
Yeah.
went through Ugly, and I did one of his seminars.
Yeah. Oh, Ollie was my original trainer. I trained
Mhm.
at Pro AM right down the street from Next Level Pro where Justin
Oh,
trained.
okay.
Yeah, and so in fact, Justin and we started there right around the same time. He's always been cool to me. I really loved him. But Ollie, told this story. He was like he would watch it on public access and he just thought it was so funny. He recorded like on a VHS tape a bunch of them. And
Hmm.
he went down south and I think it was either an MMA thing or like a big indie show and all the workers were in the back and they're like we want to watch something. They had a TV and he put on TWF and there was some scene in that park where they just beeled like a 7-year-old kid like off of some structure and he
A
just landed in a
7-year-old kid.
like perfect bump and he said the entire locker room just popped huge and he's like and it was just so crazy that like all these pros were popping for this backyard fed and that's what I'm saying like TWF when I did SWF like there was a vibe for that and
Hmm.
all the pros just they just wouldn't have anything to do with it. So it's cool now to see like TWF has actually become what we all envisioned our backyard feds becoming.
Yeah,
They're legit pro
yeah,
wrestling promotion now.
yeah,
And it's just so cool to see them over the course of 20 years do that.
yeah. And Jake's so hands on. I mean, like Flacco gave him props. I mean, that guy's a one man show, and he's a good guy, man. So he
Yeah.
deserves all the success he's had because he's put the work in. He's put the time in. He's been
Yeah.
consistent.
Yeah.
I love working for him. It's always a good time at his shows, and he's the one taking us, all the different towns and local towns. He's in Manteca one day, but that's still he's here in Sac. He's the one that packs the Colonial now.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
TWF's yeah, it's come a long ways.
Yeah, yeah, it's cool. And Next Level Pro, man, I remember walking in and watching one of the first shows that they did, and it's been cool to see that venue kind of become what it's become. It's just really cool. You guys are on, what was it? Is it CC?
CSTV now,
CSTV on, and you're
the
do
Roku and
yeah on Roku
streaming
and do
device.
yeah you guys are doing a weekly show and monthly shows out of the venue.
So we're in
Uh,
29 countries now, and somehow, for some reason, we're huge in Chile.
Nice. You're gonna
So
have
I
to
was
get
like,
a
oh wow,
get a local promoter to bring you guys all down there.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
He's Justin said he gets emails or messages from people down there that want to come work over here, but we'll see.
yeah,
Well, that's
yeah.
up to him.
Oh, dude, that's a promoter's nightmare though, man. When I was running SWF, I would get emails from every Tom, Dick, and Harry who had a pair of wrestling boots saying they wanted to come over, and they'd be like, "Let me send you a tape or let me send you a YouTube,"
Uh-huh.
and I'd watch it and I'd just be like, "Yeah, I mean, I guess you look, you don't look as good as the guys I have though." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because I was always looking like I always looked for guys who looked like pro wrestlers, and that's one of the things that I liked about like you impressed me immediately was from the jump. I mean, you you looked like a pro wrestler, and I don't mean just because you're built. You're a bodybuilder, and you've kept your physical appearance like a wrestler, but I mean the way you carry yourself, the way you work in the ring. I You walk in and the first thing you think is you're a pro. You know what I mean? You know what you're doing.
Um, I, I don't even know how to answer that. Reply to that. I've been a fan since I was a little boy,
Yeah.
and that's all I ever wanted to do was be a
Mm-hmm.
professional wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought my time came and went, and somehow bodybuilding opened up that door at 44 is when I started training. I turned pro at 45. I mean, it just happened, brother. I wasn't looking for it. I was just at the right place at the right time, and I just happened to be rubbing shoulder with Chris, the Super Beast Crody, and he's the one
Yeah.
that talked me into meeting up with Ugly and Vinny Massaro. They have a
Yeah.
camp over in Sacramento. This is when Vinny was running the next level pro our academy there, and he goes, "Why don't you just go over there and see what they're about?" And I'm like, "Dude, I'm 44." So I'm 40. I don't remember how old Crody is. He's a couple years
Yeah.
younger than me.
Yeah.
And I go, yeah, but you've been doing this for a long time. I'm at my
Yeah.
age starting fresh as a rookie. I mean, yeah, but you looked the part, so just give it a shot. He planted that seed, brother. I was getting ready to go to a national bodybuilding show over in the East Coast in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Okay, the biggest show I've ever been a part of in my life as far as my bodybuilding career. 2 weeks before the show, I show up to training camp. At the academy, just to go observe. Right, 5 minutes into it, I get in the ring. I'm like, you know what? I'm signing up right now. I'm in. You know, I
Yeah.
took my first bump. I did all that, and I gave up. After that show, I completely gave up bodybuilding to train. Like you commit 100%.
Yeah.
I train. I take like a job,
Yeah.
and I've been training consistently ever since. 3 times a week, more if I could. If I had more ring time, if I able to get more ring time, I'd be in there longer. But I I went all in, man. Because
See,
time is
and
not
the,
my favorite. First of all,
right. Right.
it's
Well, and let me ask you, being I just know like when I came back and I started training with Johnny, the bumps felt different at 40 that they did when you're 18. Because when I trained before, I think I was 16 or 17 when I started training, and I could go in there and I could take 10 body slams, and the next day is like no big deal. You know what I mean?
Josh, it's the
Now,
reason why I'm on my recliner talking to
yeah,
you. Okay.
yeah, right. Like, do you feel like you know, it just
I
felt like
feel every bit my age, brother.
yeah, yeah. That's what I'm saying. I remember going to training, and I remember thinking like, dude, I just like it felt like every day I'd go home and something else ached.
Yeah, well, especially in the beginning, my first 3, 4 months, I was getting injured all the time. Not that anybody did anything to me, just my body just, oh, what are you doing? Oh, here's a pulled hamstring. Here's a my shoulder popped out of place. It was a bursitis, something, just I did a
Yeah,
leapfrog one time and I pulled a hammy, you know.
right,
I ducked a
right.
clothesline and I don't know what happened. I mean, it's just
Yeah,
it's stuff I did to myself. Not that anybody injured me. It's just being 40 plus years old,
yeah, yeah. It's crazy. Well, so tell me how have you been received? I mean, as a 44-year-old rookie, um, do you feel like generally you're received well in locker rooms? Do you feel like it's a different vibe going up against all these younger guys? Tell me what that's like.
To this day, I have yet to have an issue with anybody. I've been received well by the peers my age, the younger guys. You know, I can't say I've ever had. I felt out of place anywhere.
Nice.
Everybody's been respectful. You know, I think it helps looking the way I look. I think that
Yeah.
you know makes a statement. When it talks about being ready, being in shape, taking it serious. I think I do rub that off on people.
Yeah.
Um, but everybody's been great. I haven't not had to yet, knock on wood, have a bad experience in any locker room or anywhere I've worked at.
Yeah.
Thank God.
So, so I mean, you have you are a jack of all trades. I mean, you're a physical therapist. You're a personal trainer.
Hmm.
You did bodybuilding. Now you're a
Hmm.
pro wrestler. Everything you've done is highly physical. Have you always kind of been into fitness, or
Well,
tell me
I've
about?
been an athlete my whole life. I was a basketball player from the age of 8 till I was 37.
Oh
Played high
wow.
competitive leagues and all that. Break through all high school, break through all, when I was in college, after college, just, it's basketball is all I knew. That was my outlet as a kid to get, I grew up in an abusive home with a dad that, was alcoholic, drug addict, the worst, complete deadbeat. My parents split up when I was a sophomore in high school. I had to grow up fast to help my mom with my, I'm the oldest of six, but with my mom and dad, there's four of them. So I had to help out with that, to start working early. So basketball was all I had that kept me from joining the gangs, going the other way, the wrong route, and so I love playing and to be competitive and be good. I just want to be part of a team. I actually wanted to contribute and all that. I'm very, very competitive. Okay, if you know that about me,
Sure.
I'm very competitive. And so um, I've always, I don't know life without training, without
Right.
training for something,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
physical wise.
So let's back up a little bit. You mentioned, you had a dad who was an alcoholic and a drug addict. I
Hmm.
certainly can sympathize with that a little bit. Talk to me about growing up. Were you in Tracy when this was going
Yeah,
on?
I grew up in Tracy. Graduated high school there. I only took off when I went to college. I got married while I was in college. My ex-wife happened to, she actually graduated with Jake at the other high school. They're classmates,
Oh
you
yeah.
know. And so after we were going to have our first son, we moved back home so that we can be around our families and raise our kids around our parents and all that.
Okay. So yeah, but what was that? Your dad. You said they split up when you were a sophomore in high school. Uh, Tell me about that experience. What was that like for you?
Well, I didn't really have a relationship with him, even when he was there, because it was always negative. It was, my parents were constantly fighting. He was a womanizer, he was abusive. He used to beat her, beat us.
Mm,
And so I liked it when he wasn't there,
mm,
So I used to wrestling. Okay,
mm,
wrestling is what was my the way I would escape, I guess. When I was a kid.
mm.
You know, um, where's my wrestling Hulk Hogan buddy? So watching on TV, having my
Yeah.
toys, making up the storylines and scenarios. That's what kept me from. I don't know, from losing it, I guess, brother. I don't know. I had that, and I had basketball. Um, I like I said, I didn't have a relationship with my dad up until recently, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know what. Go ahead, give me a leading question here, so I can.
No, no, that's good. No, it, it's interesting because
This
as
guy
you,
right here.
there you go. Oh man, I remember having one of those. I don't know where it went. I had one of those and the Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan and Warrior.
Yeah.
So no, that's a I can sympathize. Well, we there's a lot of similarities between us in that. I mean, I have a relationship with my dad now. My dad's been clean for 25 years, but it was a
Hmm.
rough go. When we were kids. It was an on again, off again relationship with my
Hmm.
dad. He was always, but it's different, right? Like my dad was always around. He was always there, and he was when he was there, he was trying to engage. Uh, um, but my dad came from a background where he didn't have a dad. Really, he didn't.
Yeah, so did mine. Hmm.
So he just didn't know what he was doing, and he figured it out along the way. Church really helped him.
Hmm.
Having church figures there. My mom's dad certainly helped a lot, but that's a rough go. And but it's funny because yeah, my coping was pro wrestling, movies, and basketball. Uh, just because of my height, I was always playing basketball, so I can. It's funny how our lives are real similar in that way.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was my outlet, wrestling and basketball. I mean, I could always get on a team. I had coaches that was fill in that role.
Yeah.
counselors and stuff like that. So I always had a father figure, kind of. Just never had my dad step up and do his job.
Sure.
You know.
Do you have any contact or relationship with him now?
No, I do now. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Not the best of friends, but I mean, there's no heat between us. There's no animosity. There's no resentment. I forgave him a long ago. He stopped drinking a long ago. Um, I, I mean, I still wish, even now I'm about to be 46 next week, that he would
Wow.
be more active.
Yeah.
Every now and then, like, hey son, how you doing? How's things
Mhm.
going with your son? Like he would do something like that. He still hesitates about doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Even though I've given him the key here, be my dad. Go ahead, be my dad.
Yeah.
Have something to say it to me, please. I want that.
Yeah. How does
So,
that shape? I know that one of the things that we're going to definitely get into your story with this, but how did that experience with your dad shape how you are as a dad?
well, it made me now. My dad taught me how not to be.
Yeah.
So when I had my kids with me full time, I mean, I changed diapers. I took turns with the ex-wife as far as when they were babies, uh, um, who would switch over, who do the night shift. We rotate, no
Yeah.
matter who if I had to go to work early or not.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to be a part of that. You
Yeah.
know, I spent so much time with him. I coached all their teams. I'll just get them. Let's go in the car, and let's go to the park or whatever. Just get a diaper bag and just me and them. You know,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I to give them everything I didn't have that I wanted from my dad. Like I was trying to live through them as far as with that. You know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so I was. You can even ask my son now. I mean, I was a very involved dad. I go to all their
Mm-hmm.
school stuff. I would make sure that I was there, present.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
I would even be asked when I'd be at a park or somewhere in public with just the kids and I, my 4 kids and I, and like single moms would go up to me. It happened a few times. Is this your weekend with your kids? And I'd be like, no, I have them all the time. It's just,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
so that like I'm like, wow, that's sad that's what people think when they see a dad with their kids by himself.
Yeah.
And so,
And this is something that I've thought a lot about. It's funny because you've seen my social media and stuff. I'm all about
mhm,
my kids. I'm taking them
yeah,
out places, doing all that stuff all the time. And I'll get someone every once in a while to say something. And they'll be like, you are a whatever. You're a stellar dad or a superior dad or whatever. And it always kind of bothers me. Not because I don't like I do think I do a lot for my kids, but I don't feel like I'm doing anything that
that you wouldn't be
every
doing anyway, right?
that anybody, yeah, like any
Yeah,
dad should do, right? It's like
exactly,
it's bothers me that people see me doing what I think is basically the expectation of, yeah,
exactly.
yeah, I go to my kids basketball games, I coach their teams, i
Hmm.
i take that when I'm going to dinner, I'm taking one out, you know what I mean,
Yeah,
when I do those things, like somehow that is somehow considered to be superior. It really is a comment on fathers as a whole.
yeah,
When
it's sad, man.
it is, and it really bothers me when then me going a little bit on a rant, but it also bothers me a little bit when I see other fathers who will do it for the posts, right? Like do it for the
Yeah,
social
yeah,
media.
yeah,
Like I know of a couple that, they look all smiley on Instagram and Facebook, but they're in the
yeah,
background screaming at their kids, and that's to me that's like stolen valor. You know what I mean? It
yeah.
just it bothers me, and so
It's a
it's good
PR
to
move.
see. Yeah, and it's good to see that there's somebody out there who really cares about
I'm the
being a
same way with my
father.
stepdaughter.
Yeah,
It's I mean I don't even call it. I'm just as a reference, but she's my daughter.
yeah.
Same way.
Your
She
stepdaughter, how long have you been in her life? Like, what age did you come
she
in?
was 11. She's 15 now, going on 16. Or actually going on 21, right? Um,
Right.
yeah, yeah. Oh man, she's one of the loves of my life, brother. My life
Yeah.
would be boring without her here.
Yeah. Do
Yeah,
you is her father in her life?
he is. He
Okay.
is.
Okay.
He
So
is.
tell me what that's like for you.
Um, well, through the experience I've had with my children's mother, I've learned what co-parenting is and how it
Yeah.
should be.
Right.
So my wife and I respect the relationship she has with her dad.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so um, he has his rules over there, we have ours here, and we just try to do what's best for the child, right?
Yeah.
You know, to make her
Yeah.
feel like she don't have to pick sides or or anything like that. But when she's here with me or with us, I mean, even my son told me when he came to visit, was that if I didn't know, I say she's your daughter, like
Hmm.
the way she is with you. She follows me everywhere. She looks up to me. She likes hanging out with me.
Yeah.
And she even trains with us at the pro wrestling academy. So, um,
Nice.
yeah, so we have that kind of relationship, where she's really
That's
comfortable asking me for stuff and all that stuff. And I mean, like I said, you wouldn't be able to tell that she's not biologically mine.
well. That's great. And let me ask you. Did it particularly your relationship with the biological father and your relationship as a support for your now wife?
Hmm.
Uh, was it always good? Did it take some time? I mean, how did that come about for you guys?
Um, well, without getting into too much with that situation, because it's I don't, my wife's very private.
Oh, sure.
Um, we did have some conflict in the beginning.
Hmm.
I think it's normal. But who's this new guy?
Hmm.
Just coming in and whatever. But he just recently got remarried. Uh, I believe about a year and a half ago, or a year ago, or something around there. So his mentality has changed because now he's a stepdad, and
Hmm.
now he's got to also co-parent and all that with his new wife and the new blended family that he now has. So
Sure.
things have changed a bit since then,
Yeah.
for the better.
Nice.
You
Nice.
know.
Well, that's great. I imagine that in that circumstance, it's it takes some time to get there. You
Hmm.
know. So let's backtrack a little bit because yeah, you've mentioned you met your wife your ex-wife in college
Correct.
and you were married for 20 years.
Hmm.
Um, and you got four kids.
Hmm.
And for those of you who don't know, part of Raf's story is is one of how that ended. And so, why don't you kind of give me a sense of you're married. You're married 18, 19 years, and then
Yeah,
trouble starts
married
brewing.
20, together 22. Um, well, caught her having an affair with someone else's husband, brother. I lost my mind. Um, they both put restraining orders after me to cover up their mess. That was a crazy, jealous husband that just picked on some random guy because I was accused of domestic violence. I was accused of abusing her, the kids, and got a restraining order put on me by both of them. I broke the restraining order. I got sent to jail. Well, I
Hmm.
broke the restraining order by picking up my two youngest kids from school to take them to go eat. I had, but when that happened, it was about 4 weeks or so that I hadn't seen my kids when all this blew up, and I didn't know how serious restraining orders were.
Hmm.
And I got Amber Alert. I text the babysitter. I have the two little ones. I just want to take them out to eat. I'll drop them off at your house as soon as I'm done. Well,
Hmm.
she called the ex called the cops. I got Amber Alert. I'm a Carl's Jr. brother, and all these SWAT teams, just cars, come at gunpoint, arrest me in front of my two little ones. I get charged with a felony, child abduction, kidnapping,
Hmm. Wow.
and
So, well, hold on. Let's go back. Let's go back a little bit, and let me
mhm,
ask you a couple of questions before we'll go into the story.
okay.
Um, but uh, before this happened, before this part happened where you caught her, did you have any idea that there was trouble in your marriage?
No, yeah. I mean, there was something. I just couldn't point my finger on it, but
Hmm. Like, did
you
you
know,
bring it up? Did you bring it up beforehand? Were you ever like, "Hey, something's up. What's going on? Were you guys fighting? Were you talking about doing therapy? Anything like that beforehand?"
I can't say we were talking about therapy. We were both not in a good head space probably at the time too. You know,
Uh-huh.
um, there was just so much going on.
Hmm.
Our marriage was not the healthiest at the time. I wouldn't.
Hmm.
I'm not going to say that I was the best husband,
Hmm.
but there, I was caught up in what I was doing. She was, she was caught up in her career and what she was doing,
Mm.
and so we weren't really close anymore. Now looking back, I couldn't tell you at the time. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
Yeah.
You don't see it till you've been away for a while,
Yeah.
and you have time to. So at the time, of course not. I couldn't. That was the last thing I thought she'd do. You
Dude, and
know.
that and that's the thing, right? It's so the reason I ask this stuff is I'm always curious about these circumstances because the way people react are so different in my experience. I mean,
Mhm.
anecdotally, right? When you got somebody who, things have been hard for a long time
Yeah.
and you guys have been struggling or whatever, and,
Mhm.
they know, and then something happens like that, it's a much different dynamic than, you think everything's fine, and
Mhm.
you think that and then next thing you know, bam, like, you know what I mean? It's you're blindsided, kind of.
Dude, it was RKO out of nowhere, brother. Boom.
Yeah, that's what I'm
It
saying, is that,
was.
like,
Yeah.
it's one thing, and when I say that, when I say blindsided, sometimes I have friends when I talk about this stuff, because I have a lot of friends I talk to who had very similar circumstances, where, with infidelity, and they're getting divorced or whatever, and and some people have a hard time with the, what do you mean you had no idea you were blindsided? Like, I would say in those circumstances, it's not like you were blindsided in that you weren't having any problems, but every marriage has problems.
Exactly.
You
Mhm.
know, you're just having what you think is run of the mill problems. Like,
Yeah.
we're busy. We got 4 kids. I got a
Yeah.
job. She's got a job. I'm trying to coach these kids. She's running around doing stuff. Like, it's chaos, and we don't have a lot of time for each other. And then next thing you know, she's cheating on me.
Yeah.
You
I mean,
know?
to be honestly, looking back now, I think it's just midlife crisis kind of stuff. I don't know. I mean, looking back, um, but yeah, like I said, I wasn't able to figure things out until later. And then even now that I'm talking to my son and him coming over and opening up to me about things, and some more stuff made sense, and you know connected
Yeah.
more dots, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. So 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 now let's talk then. So you're going along, you're keeping busy with your kids. And what was it that you found that made you realize or suspect that she was cheating on you?
Well, I went through her phone
Mm.
and her messenger on Facebook, social media, man, and I saw 7, 8, 9 months back of their sexting, their news, their meetups, I that's as far as I could stomach before I
Mm.
stopped looking. And
Mm.
anyways, I lost it, bro. I saw red. I saw
Yeah.
red. I didn't go after her. I went after him,
Mm.
trying to make his life miserable. And then they put the restraint orders on me, and I didn't hold me back. I let my emotions take the best of me.
Mm.
So
Would tell me, give me
and
the what?
the cops told me this when the detectives breaking affairs are not against the law. Breaking restraining orders is,
Mm. Mm. Mm.
and they got me on technicalities, but none of my crimes were violent. It was just me breaking the restraining order for being defiant.
Yeah. So let the time frame. What was the time frame between you finding out and the restraining order being filed? Are we talking about days, weeks, a day? What are you talking?
Um, it didn't take that long. It was pretty quick.
Uh-huh. And this was because what, you made some threats towards him or went after him a little bit? Is that
Well, because she panicked, I guess,
okay?
and she didn't want. Okay, so just to fall back. So my ex-wife and I were really well known in our town.
Uh huh.
She was a campaign manager for one of the one of the clowns that got elected for city council. She was also involved with the mayor. She knew the cops. She was really involved in the community.
Mm-hmm.
She was the president of the chamber, of the business chamber.
Chamber of Commerce. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh huh.
And so her reputation, her and all that is the biggest. Her image, public images for politicians, of course, is their biggest
Yeah.
deal, right?
Yeah.
So she didn't want that coming out
Mm-hmm.
because when I caught her, I did tell her, "You fess up, you come clean, we go to counseling and all that," and she didn't want to do that,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So she chose the route that she chose to do, and they both worked together to get me arrested.
Mm.
because he didn't want his wife to find out. She didn't
Mm.
want everybody else to find out. So I looked like this crazy nut. And the way I was acting, I looked exactly like they said they were. I was, I
Mm.
was, I lost it, bro. I went crazy.
Like, what do you mean? Like, what were you doing?
I was just impulsive. I was trying to hurt somebody, man.
Yeah, no, and here's the thing, like I get it, right? Like, dude, there's nothing more being
I saw
betrayed.
red, man. I saw
Yeah,
red.
being betrayed like that. I mean, that's man, like that's I could there's a reason as a lawyer. There's a reason why they sometimes call them, crimes of passion, or you've heard the term temporary insanity.
Hmm.
It's because that's what happens, right? Like
Yeah,
you
that's exactly
snap
what happened.
mentally, you snap, and then next thing you're doing something that's out of character.
Yeah, they
You
were
know.
plotting to take off to. He was telling her, "I'm going to leave my wife and son." He had a newborn,
Mm,
his wife and son for her,
mm,
but that didn't happen. This blew up in her face. He ended up going back to his wife,
mm,
and she never, that anyways, that didn't work out for them.
mm.
She ended up taking someone else's husband, and that's who she's married to now.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's the
So
whole Jerry Springer episode, brother.
yeah,
It's really, really, really crazy. It
talk to
can
me
make
about
it come out of this.
talk to me about like deep down what are in this time frame. I mean, you're mad, you're heated, sure, and you mentioned it's a Jerry Springer story,
Yeah.
dude. How does that
Well,
make you feel?
the thing is, while this was happening, nobody believed me. My old mom didn't believe me.
Mm,
I had one sister that believed me, one
mm,
friend. I lost all our mutual friends. I needed letters of reference, of character reference, for the judge. Like, this is not the Ralph we know. Kind of, just to talk about how they know me, the type of character that I have. Nobody would touch me.
mm,
Okay. My closest friends who I thought who I poured my hearts into, nobody. She reached out to everybody and told them what a horrible husband I was, that I was abusing her the entire marriage, that I was abusing the
mm,
kids. Look, not once did she ever call the cops, not once did she ever do any of that, right? But she told everybody I was just a complete POS, that this guy that I'm saying that she messed around with is just somebody I just randomly picked on. And just because I was a jealous, controlling, narcissistic, you name it, I was everything,
mm,
you know?
mm,
And I was a deadbeat. I don't work. I don't do this. I don't do that. And every picture I take with the family and I post on social media is just a photo op and all,
yeah.
Anyways, she destroyed my character in the eyes of everybody.
Wow.
And so
How
I
did
was
how
left with
did
nothing.
tell at that time frame when this is going on? I mean, you've already been betrayed, right?
Hmm.
I mean, you've been betrayed by the person you loved, you thought you were going to spend the rest of your life with,
Yeah.
and then you're going in there and you're trying to reach out to people to,
Hmm.
and nobody's believing your side of the story. What's going through your mind at that time? Like,
You're
what I mean,
going
what are you thinking?
crazy, brother. I got anxiety. I never knew what anxiety was. I had a panic attack. I mean, I mean, have you ever had that? It was scary. I thought I was gonna die, man.
Yeah, feels like a heart
I
attack.
had this panic attack, and I have a okay. So I'm an ordained minister.
Mm,
Okay, I
mm,
was an assistant pastor for a long time. I was in my ex-wife and I were in ministry for 9 years together when we were in Tracy. I was a youth pastor. I mean, Christian Pentecostal church, and so um, I'm in jail, brother, and I'm having a panic attack. I'm in the cell by myself. I did not have a cellmate at the time, and I don't know what's going on. I'm thinking I'm having a heart attack. I can't breathe. I'm in all County Orange. And all I can say is, God, please don't let me die this way. Not like this, man. Let me see my kids just one more time before I die, you
mm,
know. And I'm can't breathe. I'm like, I can't move. I can't even push the emergency button to get a guard to help me. And
mm,
I hear a voice. I really do hear a voice. Not audible like we're talking, but just somehow I hear it. And it goes, I told you all you ever needed was me. This is like God telling me all you ever needed was me. Go back to your faith.
mm,
Trust me. You know,
mm,
And as soon as I said, okay, a tap, it went away.
mm,
And that was like the beginning of me trying to work on that, on myself with that, because it wasn't overnight, bro. I mean, this is taking work. It's taking time.
yeah.
Just having that I got to be able to learn how to let go of things I can't control.
Mm,
I can't control who's going to be there for me. I can't control what the ex is doing. I can't control the situation my kids are in. I have to completely let go of control because I have control of nothing other than my attitude, my emotions, how I handle things. That's we all have control of that, and that's when I learned that. When I started learning about that, where I was like, yeah, there's nothing I can do. I believe
Yeah.
what I believe. I got to put it to practice.
Yeah.
You know.
That's it's funny you bring that up. I mean, it's not funny. It's
Well, it is.
terrible.
I mean, in a way, yeah, I understand what you mean when you say that. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's interesting because I mean, here you are, you were a football coach, you were doing the physical therapy, you're taking care of your kids, and then a few bad choices under serious pressure, and now you're in a bad spot. Uh, Going back into the story, so you um, you they what was the purpose, like what was the circumstances for the restraining order? Did you actually have a physical altercation,
No,
or
I
was it
didn't.
just
It was just
threats?
verbal stuff.
You had made some threats, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so now from there, uh they put the restraining order on the two of them, but it also included a restraining order on your kids. I mean, like, you couldn't
Well,
see your
she
kids.
automatically got it on her and the kids
Okay.
because, and then she got so I wasn't able to contact my kids or her. This is how dumb I was, brother.
Hmm.
It was on a Thursday. I decided to go pick the kids up at school. Monday was
Hmm.
my hearing. If I wouldn't have
Right.
gone and done that, I probably would have got half custody or
Hmm.
visitation rights, something, right?
Right.
But I let my emotions, like, I would just miss my kids so much. I have never gone that long without seeing my kids.
How long had it been?
4 weeks, which was
four
not a long
weeks
time, but because now it's turning to six. but
Yeah.
like my kids were my life. They were everything to me, you
Right.
know? And so
Right.
I just, like I said, I was, anxiety, all this, your mind, like I said, your mind, you can get lost in your mind so easy.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating, I was losing weight. I looked like a tweaker, brother. Real
Mm.
fast, my body started deteriorating.
Yeah.
I got
So
stressed out, bags under my eyes. I mean, I was a wreck.
yeah. What do you think? So you just think it was a momentary lapse of judgment going and picking up the
Me?
kids? Yeah, like, oh, because
It
you like
completely
you said,
was. It was just
yeah,
me. Just I didn't, like I said, I didn't know that they were that serious. I didn't know that I would lose them for this long. Had I known, I mean, maybe I wouldn't have done it.
yeah,
But I
and
thought,
that
okay, I wasn't going to I didn't do anything with them. I just picked them up, took them to go eat. It's not like I, did anything bad or took them out to lunch.
right,
I just wanted to see
right.
them.
And was this an after school thing, or you took them out of school and
No, it
then
was
you went and
they
took?
were out, it was after school. I
Oh,
just
okay.
picked them up, and they were happy to see me. My son Jacob was like, "Dad, why did you leave us?" So he was being told that I left them, that I abandoned them.
Yeah, right,
And that's when I was like, "What?" I go, "No, never. Where
right.
you've been? How come you haven't been around and this and that?" And how do
Yeah,
you tell a 7-year-old that? And then my daughter, my daughter was 6 at the time, who's going to be 13 next week. I haven't seen her since. Also confronting me about things. And so it was hard, and and then so I got Amber alerted. I got my kids taken away from me at gunpoint. Never saw them again.
man.
You know.
And does that mean? So I know you got taken away. You said you mentioned you were charged with felony abduction. Is that right?
Hmm.
Okay. And then you served some time. Were you in county?
Yeah, I served a prison term in county. They let
Okay.
me serve it in county. I didn't have to go to the actual prison, but on my paperwork it says I went to prison.
Okay. And you were
So what was
you
I,
were
so? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
you were originally, what were you sentenced to? Was it 18 months?
I did. Yeah, I did 18 months.
Okay.
Well, it was because you do half, right? So
Right.
so yeah, so I did eight. I did. Well, it was 3 trips because I got out. I got out, and then I would go back in on the reoffense because
So you kept violating the
yeah,
restraining
but
order.
the most time I did straight was 8 months straight. That was the last time, I think, or no, second to last time.
And when you're violating the restraining order, is it just going to try to see your kids?
Yeah, it was me trying to. Well, the first time she texted me when I first got
Hmm.
out, talked about your trash to me, and I responded back, and that was a
Mm.
violation,
Oh wow.
and I got in trouble for that. And
Mm.
then because apparently if someone's on restrict, they can contact you, they can say whatever they want, but you can't respond back.
Wow. Yeah.
And she kept outsmarting me. The and so I went and did 8 months for that. I guess that's when I did the prison trip. And then when I went back again, this time I was so angry. I had several months to plot this. This is how I got him caught. I sent
Mm-hmm.
all their crap that I had screenshotted from their conversations and all that to his wife, to his in-laws. So he came for money. His
Mm.
wife is the daughter of a grocery chain, Mexican grocery store chain over in Stanislaus County.
Mm.
And so I just went where you get anybody who's thinks there's somebody. I went after his pocket,
Mm.
and it just blew up in his face, blew up in the ex's face, and it was a very public thing that
Mm.
you know.
Mm.
And
When
so
you.
that when I pressed the red button, knowing I was never going to cross that bridge again,
Mm.
and I did it, just that was me just being vengeful out of spite, just me just wanted to get him back because I had just served time in jail over some nonsense. And when I was in there, she divorced me. She got 100% custody. She she got everything. So
Mm.
I was really angry,
Yeah.
you know, resentful,
Yeah.
bitter. So I got them both. Boom, and
Yeah.
messed everything up.
Do you looking back at the way, because this all happened 2017, 2018?
Yeah, between 2017 and 2008, the end of 2018, mostly all 2017 and 18. That's when I was in that jail.
Mm.
That was not that long ago.
Well, now you're about 5 years out from that, 4 to 5 years out from that, and you've obviously done some growing. You're in a better mindset. You look back on those things now. Um, do you ever? I mean, obviously, I think one of the things you wouldn't have done different, you would have done differently, is not going to pick up your kids for lunch on that Thursday and wait until
Yeah, that I
Monday.
do regret. That they
Yeah.
say you shouldn't have regrets in life. I do because I just saw my son. He's 18 now. He was 12 the last time I talked to him before he came.
Mm.
You know,
Mm.
and there's all those. And then when he told me everything he's gone through, where he needed his dad, and his mom wasn't much. His mom and his stepdad haven't been much of a help since.
Mm.
They're not all there. They're still not okay.
Mm.
And so he's had to suffer and grow up fast. He got kicked out of the house at 16. Right after she married him, he kicked him out of the house, and more than once. You
Mm.
know, and they
Mm.
would get drunk and throw him out of the house. It got pretty bad. It was worse than what I thought. You
Mm.
know, so he
Mm.
opened up and shared with me a lot of stuff. And he doesn't live with his mom anymore. He lives with roommates now, and he's on his own.
Mm.
But it
So
just breaks my heart knowing that that's how they're doing right now.
so tell me going back to this. Tell me what you know what you think, if looking back on these things, what you would have done differently. Other than that, of course, what do you think you would have done differently?
Well, I just would have let's get divorced. You do what your thing, and I go my way, and we'll figure out how to co-parent. That's what I
Yeah,
would have done different.
yeah,
You know, forget it.
do,
He can have her. That way I
yeah.
can have her. Whatever.
Was there a level of that when you were going in and out of jail where you were hoping that you'd be able, even then, to try to reconcile, or was it
At
just?
first, I did, and I did offer that, but she was hell bent that she was going to start a life with this guy.
Mm.
So she turned it down, and then after the second time I got it, I didn't. I was like, no, I don't want this.
Right.
I need to heal. After I did the revenge thing and send all their stuff out, you
Mm.
know, um, I I was like, nah, I don't want nothing to do with her anymore.
Mm.
I'm gonna work
Mm.
on me. I'm gonna try to get better. I want to heal. I
Mm.
didn't like the person I was becoming. I was
Yeah.
getting cynical too. I was like, oh, I'll never get married again. You can't trust me. I got like that.
Yeah. Started
And
getting a bad mindset.
yeah, yeah. As I said, I wasn't okay for a couple of years. I went to therapy for a while.
Yeah.
You know,
What
and,
did
and
you what did you when you went to therapy, is there anything that you learned about yourself?
well, how do I say this? Just I learned about self control. I learned how to heal from other stuff.
Mm.
My dad, my parents. Um, I was impulsive. I've always been that way.
Mm-hmm.
I react instead of, I had to learn how to keep that under control.
Yeah.
Um, about letting go of a control, about control. Yeah, I learned how to that part, more in the depth.
Yeah.
Um, that you're not responsible for how other people react. I for a while too, I thought it was my fault that I turned her that way.
Mm.
You know, because she would tell me, "You made me this way,"
Uh, yeah.
and so you start believing that, that okay, I deserve that,
Yeah.
or you start feeling guilt. That maybe she cheated
Yeah.
on me because I did this, I did that, or I didn't do this, I didn't do that,
Yeah.
and so that's all part of the stuff you talk about in therapy. How is no, it wasn't you. People make their own decisions. You
Yeah.
know.
It's funny when you talk about that because a lot of people will look to external factors for internal problems. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, uh, obviously your ex cheated on you. I can tell you nobody deserves that. Um, uh, and you, if she doesn't blame you, then she's just a bad person, right?
Yeah, exactly,
And
and
so of
that's where she's
course,
at right now. Yeah.
so of course, if you didn't drive, if you didn't drive her to it, then she's just a bad egg, but you
Hmm.
can't have that, right? That's
No.
part of the emotional immaturity of these things.
Yeah.
But I've noticed in my own life, and maybe you can talk to this or speak to this rather. Uh, that when I go through really, really tough things, that and when I look back years later, I realize that those tough things shaped me who I am, and I'm kind of grateful for them.
Yes. Yes.
Do
Yeah.
do you feel like that experience? There's anything that you learned from that experience that you are grateful you learned?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm with this amazing woman now. I
Yeah.
remarried 3 years ago. I have a new daughter that came from it,
Hmm.
and I'm doing what I'm doing now. I mean, this is not this wouldn't have happened had I still been married to the ex-wife.
Yeah.
And
Tell me,
so.
tell me about this. So it's been, I mean, you've been married for 3 years. This you
Mhm.
were done in 2018, so it's been 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I
You take,
remarried in 21.
yeah. So tell me, you mentioned that you went through a couple years of therapy and you realized you didn't like who you were becoming.
Hmm.
What was it that finally flipped the switch for you?
My kids.
Hmm.
So one day I'm just like, okay, if I'm not okay here, and their mom definitely is not either, these kids don't stand a chance. They
Yep.
need one parent at least to be as close to sane as possible, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so because of them, I go, I gotta need to work on myself. Like I did not hit the bar scene. I did not go sleep around,
Hmm.
and it was offered, it was there, but
Hmm.
it was like, no, I can't be that guy. I'm not, that's not what I'm about. I'm a
Hmm.
family man. I'm a dad, first and foremost. I have a daughter,
Hmm.
and so if anything's gonna come out of this, I gotta show my kids one day that, like that speech that Rocky gives his son, man. Nothing's
Yeah.
gonna hit you harder than life. That's real life right there. And
Yeah.
so I wanted to be able to show them that through my life, what I've been going through. Look, you can have you can go through what I've gone through and still get back on your feet, keep fighting back, keep moving forward, and show them how. When my
Hmm.
son came here, I was able to tell him exactly what I did because I don't want him to be bitter and resentful towards his mom. I don't want him to think all women are bad or to think whatever it is that he thinks that, now that he knows what happened. Look, if it doesn't happen to me, son, I'm not where I'm at. I'm not the person that I am. So but good things did come out of it eventually. Not what I was going through it,
Sure.
but time. Truth always comes out. You can't hide the truth. You can keep lying all you want, but the truth eventually comes out in anything, man.
Yeah,
You know?
that's true. Uh, going back to real quick, just this just popped in my mind. Going back to when you found out about the cheating, did you ever have a situation like when that happened? Did things make a little bit more sense to you, or did they just knock you for a loop, or Probably easy to,
No, it knocked
I,
me for a loop. It didn't make
yeah.
sense till later.
Mm,
Yeah, when I was in my
yeah.
jail cell.
Mm. Yeah, when you're in your, well, talk to me about that time when you're in jail. I mean, you're in jail, so you have a lot of time to reflect.
Yeah.
Tell me what that was like for you that time while you're there.
Well, that's when I got to really know who God is,
Mm,
and because you can get caught up really easy there with the politics. You got to join a clique,
mm,
or you need to join a group, or else you're gonna be in a lot of trouble. So I stuck to myself, for the most part. And then eventually, what I did was I started a church in jail. I gave up. We had services on Sunday. That I got favor with the guards, so I was
mm,
giving Bible studies. I was doing sermons. I was teaching people how to read the Bible, and just stayed on that path when I was, there, because either that or you're gonna get caught up in more drama and get more time attached to your sentence hanging around with the wrong people.
mm,
So we just started a little ministry there where we would feed everybody that didn't have resources. I was fortunate enough that my mom took care of me the entire time I was there,
mm,
and so I shared the blessing to those that didn't have any, when I could. And so I tried to make my experience there as positive. I know it sounds crazy, as positive as possible.
mm,
Even looking back now, I did not have a bad experience when I was there,
mm.
because I felt like I was doing God's work, and made my
Sure.
time to be. I spent my time being productive in there.
Mm,
I read a lot of books. I got to spend a lot of time with my thoughts, and you know what, Ralph, you got to work on these things, you know,
yeah.
and how to be a better husband, be a better dad, be a better human being, But of course, it's easy to do it in there. It's applying
Sure.
it once you're out and you're, you don't have your kids, you don't have a wife, and you're just like, "Ah."
Yeah. No, I hear you. So you get out. I've heard some stories of people who are ex felons or
hmm
have felonies in the background. Tell me how uh, getting out. How was that transition for you?
Well, now I'm back at my parents' house, my mom's house. I moved out when I was 17 years old. I'm
Mm,
40, 41 at the time, and I have to live with my mom. You know how humbling that was?
yeah.
I didn't have a car, I didn't have a job, I didn't have anything other than the clothes I had on. And first thing I did was get a gym membership.
Mm,
And so did that, and fortunate enough I was able to get a job right away through a temp agency, and just started getting back on my feet right away. I decided, you know what, to keep me out of trouble, I'm going to do a bodybuilding show, because I hadn't done one in a while.
mm,
And that kept me focused. It kept me disciplined. I had to eat right. I couldn't be drinking. I couldn't be out partying. It was just something to keep me from, kind of what basketball used to do for me as a kid, keep me out of trouble. I,
mm,
I used bodybuilding for that.
mm,
And so I had done two other shows before that, and I placed dead last and sixth.
mm,
So now I'm prepping for the show. And then during that time, I ended up meeting my wife, and I ended up winning my first show
mm.
because I was so focused and just trying to, just I don't know, just I was, I don't know, I've never been that focused in my life before as it was that time, because I just wanted to prove a point, or get that, you have that chip on your shoulder.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks you're a loser, you're this and that, and I'm just, even, I don't know if I even thought that, but in my head, in my mind, I thought everybody was judging me, condemning me, because at the time the truth hadn't come out yet
Mm,
completely. I was still, people still were wondering if I did or not. And so I was just trying to find a way to show everybody the middle finger. I'm back. This is not the end of me. You
mm,
know, I mean, maybe the my reasoning behind it, my why, was probably not the best one, but it was more of me just showing the world, that everybody that knew me, like, look, man, I'm back, and I'm not letting this be the end of me. I got too much
right.
pride,
Yeah.
to let this be the way I go out.
Well, that's that's the important thing, right? Is like you said earlier. You can't control things that happen to you, but
hmm
you can choose how to respond to it. And obviously, some of the things that you had to go through were happened to you, and then some of those things were bad choices you made when you were in a bad way.
Hmm.
But the thing is that every one of those experiences is a way to learn and a way to get a little bit, to shape you into something, something more that God wants you to be,
Yeah,
you know. And
exactly.
so you're doing bodybuilding shows. You meet your this new girl who will eventually be your
Hmm.
wife.
Correct.
Uh, and are you now? You also a physical therapist, right?
That came later. That's the last couple of years. That was not the
Okay.
time. I was just a trainer at the time.
Okay. So you're a personal trainer
Hmm.
and doing bodybuilding shows.
Yeah, I'm running. So but this time now I'm running a gym in Elk Grove.
Mhm.
Um, when I'm, during this time, I was working at a temp agency and I got a job at a gym. Somebody gave me they gave me an opportunity. I told him my situation. He believed me, you
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
and he gave me another chance. So I'm really grateful. Thankful for Premier Fitness in Elk Grove,
Mhm.
Sammy and Nabil for the opportunity they gave me because that opened up more doors eventually. I'm
Yeah.
forever grateful to them.
Mhm. And then from there, now you do personal training at Crunch Fitness in Folsom. Is that right?
Yeah, that's where I currently am right now.
Okay.
So I'm there in the mornings from like 5 in the morning to 1, and then I work for the chiropractor in the afternoons.
Okay. And then you start training. So you're working with a chiropractor as a physical therapist
Hmm.
while doing personal training. Now you eventually get married and got a new stepdaughter.
Hmm.
Uh, and then wrestling. You pop into you pop into Next Level Pro. You train him with Vinny Massaro, who
Hmm.
just had a match on AEW Dark. I mean,
Yeah, I was there. That was pretty cool.
yeah, it's good stuff. I was there too. So now, when did the transition happen from Vinny to Tony Vargas?
So I believe Tony started in the end of 21.
Okay.
Vinny was there till about September, I think. I started in July. So I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sure how long he was there before that.
Uh huh.
I started in July and towards the end of July, somewhere around there, beginning, middle. And then I think September, end of September around is when Vinny left and he ended up at West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
And so shortly after that, I mean, a couple of months maybe, I'm not sure when, I don't remember exactly when the date Vargas took over, but it had to be
Mm-hmm.
towards the end of that same year. 'Cause it was a
Okay.
couple of months that we didn't have a head trainer.
Mm. So tell me, uh, I'm of the opinion that the trainer you have is really everything, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Talk to me about the differences between training with Vinny Massaro versus training with Tony Vargas.
Well, I mean, everybody's different. Tony is really, really patient,
Mm.
and he's no nonsense. He's not scared to step on toes, hurt your feelings, but he'll work with you if you put in time. You know,
Mm-hmm.
dude, he spent the first month I was with him. All he did is teach me how to lock up, right? Because I couldn't figure that out.
Mm.
Lock up, lock up, and then take the. I was so stiff from bodybuilding, you
Yeah,
know,
right,
and
right.
so whatever I learned from Vinny and we started all over from the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and so just two different styles, no knock on Vinny. I didn't get to spend enough time with him to give you a full assessment of his
Mm-hmm.
coaching style.
Mm-hmm.
I also got to train with Ugly. He's
Yeah,
really old school, and I love training with him. All the
dude,
chain I know is because of him.
dude,
Uh,
Gabe is like next level good. He
yeah, and
really
every now and then
is.
he pops in and does a session for us. He fills in.
Yeah,
So he's always somebody. I still call him coach because he's still in and out, and every now and then helps us out.
yeah.
And so, but Tony, he has if you gotta get to know the guy. If you
Mm-hmm.
just see him, you think he's a different one. He's not how he looks, man. He cares a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He cares a whole lot, and he has a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge. And he comes from a background of pro football and MMA, and he's been coached his whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And he's old school like me. I'm used to having a coach in my face, spitting on me, telling me how terrible I am, and then
Right,
smack me in the butt. Good job, kid. Like
right.
that's where I grew up. You can't do that nowadays. So I don't get my feelings hurt when I get corrected or chewed out or whatever.
Yeah,
It's okay. Well, just try again, dude. Try do it until I get it right.
that's
You know?
that's so interesting you bring that up because I'm the same way. I coach. I coached basketball for my son's team one year. Well, I've coached both my sons in basketball, and yeah, I mean, some of those kids would get real sensitive, and I was just like, "Hey, man, you don't understand. Like the coaches I had, I mean, they would call you a worthless piece of garbage all the time.
I'm
You know
just
what I
thinking Bobby
mean?
Knight's brother. Remember Bobby Knight throwing
Yeah,
trays?
exactly. Throwing things. I had a Coach Johnson one time. He got thrown out for throwing. Not he. I don't think he threw it, but he definitely pushed a chair really far, and he was really angry, and yeah. So I mean, that's what we dealt with in this new generation. That's another thing I wanted to ask is that, like, you're training with a bunch of kids. I mean, most of
Mhm.
the people who are coming in, they're 18, 19, 20 years old. You're a family man. You're a married man working full time, doing all that.
Mhm.
Tell me how what you see differences you see generationally in these wrestlers that are training.
It's that what I just said. They get their feelings hurt really easy. You
Yeah.
know,
Mm-hmm.
um, having a hard time taking constructive criticism.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's like if they didn't care, if the coach didn't care, they wouldn't. They'll tell you you're great even when you're not.
Mm-hmm.
And so um, I think that's probably the biggest difference. But I'm also there as an encourager, because being a coach myself, and I'm a rookie in wrestling, but I've been a coach for 20 something years. I don't know for how long now. Okay,
Right. Right.
and so it's coaching's coaching,
Yeah.
motivating men and women to do stuff they don't want to do. Is something that I've been doing for a while.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, because I'm also the same way. Like I tell them, look, if you're not in shape, if this is the only place that you're working out at, it's going to be a while before you debut. You have
Right.
to make time outside of the ring to get in
Mm-hmm.
shape,
Sure.
to get your reps in. If
Yeah.
this is your dream, you gotta be sold out. You gotta be all in. It's gotta be an obsession, or else, you know.
Right. Well, that's what's so interesting about you is, man, I see you everywhere. You're booked everywhere. I mean, you're doing CWA, ACW, you're doing Next Level Pro, TWF. What else? Do you do
Brother,
Best of the West?
I'm doing the Golden One Center this Saturday, brother.
That's true. You're at the Taco Fest, right?
At the Taco Fest, brother. This
With
old man
BCW.
right here got no business there. Okay, and man, brother, I've been I think this 10 promotions now that I've worked for,
Nice.
and I want to thank every promoter that's taking a chance on me. I think it's the work ethic obviously is what's paying off,
Hmm.
but I've been getting recommended by my peers, my
Yeah.
coaches, and those that I've worked with in the ring. They've all put in word for me. They've been vouching for me, and so I'm appreciative of that because I do take this like a job.
Yeah.
I'm careful in there. I try not to hurt anybody. I mean, I'm here just to have a good time. I'm not
Right.
trying to go to WWE or anywhere else. This is like I don't even know how many matches I got left in me. At my age, every match is like could be my last match. And so
Right.
I take pictures with my opponent. And break kayfabe. I'm terrible at that, and I've been criticized for that. But I go, you know what? I don't care. Because wait,
Yeah.
look, if you don't think taking pictures is important, wait until that's all you got left.
Right.
Okay. And I'm savoring every moment. My coach Tony told me, I wish I would have done what you do and take pictures with because I don't have any because we weren't
Yeah.
allowed to back then. You don't want to look like a mark. I go, being a mark is what got me into pro wrestling.
Every single guy out there it was a mark at one point.
I
Yeah.
still ain't. So it's
Right.
like, but I'm not ashamed or embarrassed to admit it. I'm secure in who I am.
Right.
And
Right.
so if I wasn't, then this wouldn't be fun.
Who are your pro wrestling influences? Hogan. Oh yeah.
Hogan, Warrior, Rick Rude, Hitman, Austin later. But as a kid, it was this guy right here.
Yeah.
He ripped his shirt off. That's why I ripped my shirt off when I go in the ring.
Yeah.
Um, he's still on my bucket list of somebody I want to meet one day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was at a birthday party for my cousin, older cousin. Never watched wrestling in my life. I'm 7 years old, I think,
Mm.
and they're watching. Uh, it was Hulk Hogan's the Iron Sheik when he won the
Mm.
belt.
Oh
And
yeah.
so it was that card from Madison Square Garden, and I remember that match of all the matches because of the way he was celebrating with the belt and all that. And I was asking like, "What is this?" You know? where do I watch more of this at? What's this called? And then I wasn't even paying attention to the birthday party. I had nothing to do with the birthday party. I watched that whole event. I don't know if it was a VHS tape or what, or where I was watching it at. And I was just stuck to the TV until it was over. And then my cousins told me channel so and so on Saturday mornings. You can go to the video store and rent old Coliseum videos. And man, I would have my mom take me to the video store, and I come back with VHS, of old wrestling Coliseum videos, and I'd watch them over and over again. And then ESPN had AWA, WCCW, TBS station had NWA back then, and I just couldn't get enough.
Yeah, man. I remember I was so upset. I was like that too. When I was a kid, I was a big Hulkamaniac.
Mhm.
Hogan body slamming Andre. I was at the Arco Arena watching it on closed circuit
Oh,
TV,
that's so cool.
and it was as if you were there live. I mean, the
Hmm.
crowd was going nuts, and and so, but yeah, I remember any video, any tape I could get, I would watch
Yeah.
religiously. I was so into it. In fact, I remember one year, I think I was maybe second or third grade. I was at a year-round school in Modesto, and so the year-round school, you would do like 4 weeks on, 2 weeks off instead of having a full summer.
Hmm.
So in a summer, I think I had 4 weeks off while everyone else had 8 or 12 or whatever. And it was the year that ESPN started doing Global Wrestling Federation, and it
Yeah.
was like Booker. It was like the Harlem Heat, but they weren't the Harlem Heat yet. And it was
Sting was there too, right?
yeah, it was
Yeah.
who was there?
Was it Sting? Was that where Sting was out? Oh, that was UWF. Sorry.
Yeah, no, Sting wasn't there, but
That was a different one. Yeah, I remember.
Buff Bagwell was there as the
Yeah, he had
handsome
the
strainer.
yeah, he had the
Yeah,
like the Lone Ranger. That's right.
yeah, the handsome stranger, and then
Yeah.
the Patriot was the big guy,
Yeah, okay. Now I
and
remember that.
the 1 2 3 kid was the Lightning Kid.
Hmm.
I mean, they had all the guys who later would become huge names in the Attitude Era. Before the Attitude Era was when they were first getting their start, and I remember I was so upset because they had done the cruiserweight tournament, and Lightning Kid had won, and they were doing the tag team tournament, and they weren't Harlem Heat, but it was Harlem Heat,
Hmm.
and they were going to do the world championship, and it was going to be the Patriot probably against Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, but I had to go back to school before because it was on during the lunch
Yeah.
hour. So I had to go back to school and I didn't get to finish it. And I was so upset. And all my friends who weren't in full time school, they were calling me and telling me what happened. I was so mad I missed it. And it was just so cool to see like the Patriot, Del Wilkes, and all those
Yeah.
guys end up in the WWE
Hmm.
and in WCW and really make names for themselves. And you being like, I knew them when. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And that
it's a trip.
and that's what's cool about indie wrestling is like, we go to that AEW show. Will Hobbs, like that guy used to work for me. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And he's winning championships on TV. And I see Thunder Rosa is on the Spanish announce team, and she wasn't even working yet. She was in the crowd at one of my shows. I mean, and now Jeff Cobb. I think Wednesday Jeff Cobb's wrestling Kenny Omega.
Wow.
For on AEW, and that guy came and trained with us 10 years ago. And that's what's so cool about indie wrestling is if you're into wrestling, guys like you and other guys in our area are eventually one day going to be the next stars of wrestling. It's just so
Well,
cool.
it's gonna be the younger guys.
Hey, you know what though? You never know, man. Diamond Dallas Page was an older guy, you
Oh, man,
know.
he's still 10 years younger than me. Um, well, I mean, something like that happens. But you know what has happened recently because of wrestling?
What's that?
I'm next on the week of the April 10th. I'm filming in my first movie, man. So I
Oh
got
yeah.
cast to be in a horror action film called Ravenwood, and the director's name is Elle Bayer from Sunblade Studios. She happened to be in the audience and saw me and thought I was the perfect fit for the character that she needed to fill in. A narcissistic, check this out, crazy ex-husband on a restraining order looking to kill his wife. My
Dude.
son happened to be here when I got the call. I had it on speaker, and he was, Dad, how ironic that, his dad.
Yeah, yeah. He's like, dude, they got you pegged. They picked the right
Yeah.
exact guy. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's
So
a
they're paying me well to do it. And it was because of wrestling, bro. I mean, I came out on a play in the third grade once. I had one line. I think I screwed that up. It's like that's all the acting I have, But she
Yeah.
saw me there beating up Paige Canton, which is Justin's niece, who I trained with for 10 months in the match. And when she saw me beating up a girl, which is what I'll be doing in the movie, she's like, "That's it, right there."
That's the guy. That's the guy. So let's talk about your son then. So you were estranged from your son,
Yeah.
and you've been pretty active on social media about your feelings about parent alienation.
Yep. I'm an
Uh,
advocate against it.
yeah, and what do you mean by that? Before we go into your son, what do you mean by parent alienation?
Well,
Describe what you're saying.
when you're keeping your kids away from the other parent just out of spite, I'm
Mhm.
against that.
Right.
She had no good reason to do that. She wanted to divorce me, fine, but she just to cover up her mess, she punishes the kids,
Mhm.
you know. And well, she thinks she's punished me. Well, she has been, but I mean, she's really doing it to her own kids.
Mhm.
She admitted to my son what happened. That's how we came in touch. She
Mm.
finally admitted to him,
Mm.
you know. And so that was to him was like, we had a heart to heart talk when he was here, and he opened up about all kinds of stuff because he was upset about that. Like, how could she do that?
Yeah.
You know, and how
Yeah.
could she keep doing this to my other siblings? So my son goes back, tells my mother kids what a great time he had. He showed them videos, pictures, tell them everything that I'm doing. He's wrestling. All my kids grew up in wrestling. Okay, I took them to WrestleMania when it was at Santa Clara. You
Oh
know,
yeah, I was
they
there. I took my
they
oldest
staged their
son.
own backyard shows.
Mm.
And so wrestling's huge. My youngest son still wants to be a pro wrestler.
Mm.
So, anyways, soon after that, I get a call from the police department where she lives, where she's saying that I broke the restraining order, that I've been contacting her, and which is not true, because
Mm.
the restraining order on my other kids expires in May.
Mm.
So she's trying to extend it. She's upset about whatever my son told the kids and how great it is because it totally contradicted everything she's been saying.
Mm.
And he said, "That's nothing like mom said that he is. And he even told me himself, "Dad, none of the stuff mom said about you is true."
Mm.
Well, no kidding.
Yeah. Wow.
So he's been
So
like the whole time, "I can't believe you went through all this." And.
yeah. So do you have any thoughts on because look, I'm sure in the circumstance, um, like for example, I mean, look, I know that you've been hurt clearly by
Mhm.
your ex, and the day's going to come when the other kids are going to come in, and you're going to probably have to fight the urge to just to completely denigrate their mom. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
What would you say to a parent about that? Like, do you have any advice on how to stop yourself? Because, dude, look, I mean, here's the thing, right? Hurt people, they want to talk about how they've been hurt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's something that they, especially in a situation like yours, like I can understand, believe me, I can understand your situation when, you're saying, hey, this is what's going on and nobody's believing you,
Yeah,
until they see it themselves. And then they're like, wow,
brother.
Ralph was
I always
right.
use it. Always use an analogy when I try to describe what I was going through at the time. Imagine your kids, okay, Josh. How many kids you have?
I got four. Yeah.
Okay, they're drowning in a pool,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't jump in because people are grabbing you, not allowing you to jump in, and nobody else is doing anything about it but watching them drown.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I felt,
Mm-hmm.
because I was asking for help. Somebody help me then, and nobody would do anything
Mm-hmm.
because they didn't believe me, you
Sure.
know. And so now look, my kids are damaged,
Yeah.
and a lot of stuff could have been prevented,
Yeah.
you know. And so I don't know what kind of advice I can give them other than you really got to look in deep, man. If you're
Yeah.
doing this to your kids, these are your own kids, and it's going to come back to you.
Yeah.
They don't think long term; they're just thinking short term. You know, I'll lie again, I'll lie again, I'll lie. But eventually, your lies catch up to you.
Yeah.
You know, and so how can you say you love your kids unconditionally when you're on purpose hurting them?
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
so, man. And um, so your son, he contacts you. How does he get in contact with you?
through Instagram.
Okay.
So I contacted him first. So as soon as he turned 18, The restraining order on him expired.
Mm.
So I put it on my story. I wished him happy birthday. I tagged him,
Mm.
and I sent him a little message on his Instagram.
Mm.
15 minutes later, I get a call. This is August 1st last year. I get a call
Mm.
from the police department that I'm breaking their restraining order,
Mm.
and they wanted me to turn myself in to the local police department. And I'm like, how did I do that? The restraining order expired today, as of now. He's 18 now.
Mm.
And so the cop's trying to tell me otherwise. And he's like, well, show me proof that that's true. So I sent him a copy of the paperwork.
Mm.
And so even then he was like, no, this is not accurate, whatever. And I'm like, first of all, was it my son that reported me to you? And he goes, no, it wasn't him. It was his mom.
Mm.
You know? And I go, how is it possible that she can report that for him when he's of age? You know, if he's the victim, shouldn't he be reporting it if he felt that, whatever, even, you know? He goes, well, it's like, see it this way. Let's see, your neighbor's beating up his wife, and you see it happen, you call the cops. I'm like, how are you going to compare me wishing happy birthday to my son to that?
Mm.
You know? And so anyways, there was no charges filed because I didn't break the law.
Mm.
And so my son was under the impression thinking that he couldn't contact me still, or he couldn't talk to me still.
Mm.
So I kept messaging him.
Mm.
And then I, you know, kept telling him, give me a chance to talk. Let's talk. Well, eventually his mom confessed to him, but she confessed to him with a but. This is why I did it, right? And she had told him that I was sleeping around when I was coaching football with his teammates' moms, a handful of them, you know, which is not true. But that was her but. Yeah, I did that to your dad because this is why, right? So he got upset. Not that what his mom did to me. That's not what triggered him to call me. Was that I slept with his friend's moms. And so he confronted me about it, and he let me have it, brother. Everything that was polyed up, and he just, you know, he let it all out, and he just called me every name you can think of, and I was like, okay, son, let it out, let it out, let it out. He let it all out, and after he was done, I go, okay, can I talk now? And then he let me tell my side of the story, and once he heard me, and I was calm and all that, stuff clicked in his head. And we're on the phone for about 6 hours. He called me like at 12:30 at night. I had just gotten back from a wrestling show. And we were on the phone till about 6 in the morning.
Wow.
And we've been talking ever since. And little by little, you know, and during those couple of weeks, we got more trust and all that. We were FaceTiming with my wife and my daughter and I and him. And then I was like, are you ready to visit me, son? He goes, I'll fly you over. He has a roommate. You and your roommate over, you know. I want him to feel comfortable. You know, if he didn't feel comfortable coming by himself, bring the roommate. You know, that gives me another witness anyway to go back and say that, you know, that we're good. So I flew him and his best friend over. They stayed here for 10 days. I picked them up like Simba, the Lion King, everybody, showed them off, you know, and showed them a good time, you know, and just loved on them. And the more time we got to spend, the more he opened up about what it's been like without me the last 6 years. And man, he's been through some stuff, man.
Yeah.
And so I'm really, really disappointed in his mom that he had to go through all that when it wasn't necessary, because she just wouldn't, she wouldn't let him know what happened, you know?
Yeah, man. So your relationship seems to be in repair with him.
Yeah, we're good. We talk every day, just about.
Yeah, and do you think that you know your other kids? How old are they?
16, 13-year-old boys. They'll have birthdays this summer. My daughter's going to turn 12 next week, the day after me.
So, do you you anticipate that you said this restraining order expires in August?
May, middle of May.
And then once it expires, are you going to try to contact them? Or
Of course.
Yeah.
But I got to figure out how to do it right. My son's going to help me. He's going to try to help me with this. Because she has one on me where I can't contact her for like 10 years or something. So I got to do it without, I don't know how we're going to do this. Might have to go back to court, but my son is being that bridge for me.
Does he make it sound like they're receptive?
Oh no, the mom's not receptive at all because she doesn't want the other ones to find out what really happened. She fessed up to one. She doesn't want to fess up to the other three.
No, I mean, did your son suggest that the other siblings are receptive to
Well,
seeing?
the one after him is still a little standoffish. He
Mm-hmm.
told me he's the one that was the most hurt about it with me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he's still processing stuff. Um, but he told me that he'll come around. He'll come around.
Mm-hmm. I hope he does. I hope it
Yeah,
does
he
because I
will. I
mean,
mean, it's just everybody processing things different. The other two were too young to even remember a lot of stuff. I mean, so
yeah.
I think I think it'll be easier with the younger ones. But
Mm-hmm.
either way though, he told me that they all need you. We need you because we
Mm-hmm.
don't have somebody at home to be dad. The stepdad guy, he hasn't stepped up.
Mm-hmm.
He's everything mom says that you are. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not working out over there with him.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Well, so now what's next for Rafael Palma or Don Swolleon?
Like
What's
I said,
up
right now,
next?
the movie. Well, first of all, the Golden One Center this weekend. I'm really excited about that. I mean, that'll be the largest crowd that ever I've been in front of as of yet. As of last count, it was over 5,000 tickets sold. I
Mm-hmm.
think AEW drew 7,000 plus.
Yeah.
So for indie show, I mean, 5,000 people, even though some are that's a lot of fans.
Yeah.
Even if they're not, it's a lot.
Sure.
So and it's the Golden One.
Yeah.
So for me at 46, it's like it doesn't get bigger than that. So I'm just excited about the doors that have opened for me. You do things right, you treat people right, you put in the work. I mean, doors open up eventually, right?
Mm-hmm.
At least I believe that. And then after that, it's the next couple of weeks filming the movie and wrestle every Saturday. I hope for now on till the end of the year. It seems like every Saturday I have somewhere to be at. I got Mike Rain the first week of May. Well, I'm really excited that one too over with CWA and Atwater. You know,
No, that'll be a good
I
one.
get to learn a lot from the general there, so I'm excited
Yep.
about that one.
I've watched Mike Rain since he probably since his first or second year as a worker, and it's just amazing like what he's done for quote unquote NorCal wrestling. I mean,
Hmm.
indie wrestling in the area, Northern California, Central California. He really is just a legitimately nice guy.
Yeah,
You know?
got to meet him at the in Merced when ACW Best of the West, Mike
Yeah.
Rain's promotion, and CWA got together and did that big super show over in Merced. They invited me over there, and they had me win the battle royal to go against Mike in May for their title. So we're the main event, which is
Yeah.
I'm like I'm in the main event, bro. Like who in the heck am I? So
Yeah.
I'm just like I'm in awe, bro. Like I've already super exceeded my expectations with wrestling. The reason I got into it was because of my kids. My oldest son wanted to be a wrestler, and I thought this would be a way for me to reconnect with him.
Yeah.
And it's done that and more. Like my stepdaughter's into it. My wife. It's a family thing. My younger brother, who I'm 12 years older than, is now one of our students. And my
Oh, that's
nephew,
awesome.
who's 9, is there every Sunday with him, taking his rolls, taking his bumps, learning lockups. And he's we call him the young rock because he's living that
Mm.
that young rock life. You ever watch that show with these little kids
Yeah.
around all these wrestlers, and now my nephew knows him by name, and he thinks he's one of the boys, and and he's like, I'm just living vicariously through him, watching him with those big old eyes. So how I would have loved to have the opportunity when I was a kid to be around in the ring and around all this
Yeah.
stuff. He's living my dream. And
Yeah.
so my mom finally got to see me a couple of weeks ago in person. So it brought my family closer together.
That's awesome.
So I've already super exceeded any expectation I have with it, man, and got to meet people like you. Got to train with Jeter. It's brother. Who am I? I'm just a kid from Southside Tracy, bro. I got no business in this business,
Well,
especially at my age, and here I am, and I'm
well,
loving every second of it.
but the thing is though is, you know, if you put in the time, anybody belongs, and you've shown that. You know what I mean? Like you first of all, not only do you belong, but I mean you're becoming. I mean, look at you. You're coming up on your 1 year anniversary, and you're already main eventing best of the West. I mean, you know what I mean? Those are big deals. Like you're doing big things, and that's awesome. You know, and your backstory is interesting and it's fascinating because who would think that within 6 years of I'm guessing that's the worst circumstance of your life, that you could be in such a better place and reconnecting with your kids. And are things perfect? No, but hearing you got so much going on and you're living such a wonderful, you're living your dream with wrestling
Yeah.
and all of those things. Tell me, what would you say out of all those things? What would you say was your biggest success in life?
What's been my biggest success in life?
Yeah.
Oh man, meeting my wife, having the family I have now, being able to rebuild
Mm,
my home.
mm,
Because I took a lot of pride in that, being a husband, a father, having all my kids with the same woman back then. Because of the kind of home I came from, a blended family, divorce, all that stuff. So I never wanted that to be a part of my family, but it ended up happening. So having to rebuild from scratch. Not my wife had to rebuild from scratch too. Both of us were living with our parents.
mm.
She was married 12 years and went through a ugly divorce herself, and was so she had to start over herself. So we both together, what we have, the little that we have, we got to build together, and I'm very proud of that because we've both have come a long ways. And like my son came, he's like, Dad, I feel like I'm home. I go, son, that's because you are, you
Yeah.
know. But for him to say that just was like, okay, I'm doing something right,
Yeah.
And he made me cry when he said that because I told him, this is your home. You're welcome here anytime. You don't ever have to ask to come over. Here's a key, whatever. You come and go as you please, son.
Yeah.
You know. And he's moving back. He's moving down here with me in this summer. So I'm excited to
That's
have him
awesome.
back.
That's awesome. That's great, man. So I think we've talked quite a bit about, the next question I usually ask people is what's been your biggest failure and what have you learned from it? And we've talked a lot about, I got to imagine that you would say that circumstance of going to jail and doing those things would be one of
Well,
your,
yeah, doing what caused me to lose my kids for so long, that I like I said, that's something I gotta live with for the rest of my life. And like I told my son, I'm gonna spend the rest of my life trying to make it up to you and your kids when you have them, and do my best to be there for you, and not allow anything like that to happen again. You know, it is a failure, but I've also learned a lot from it. Because now
right.
for me, time is my most valuable resource. I don't like to
Mm,
waste time, brother. I get up early. I go to sleep late. I try to get as much stuff done as I can in the 24 hours that I get. You know, productive stuff. You
yeah.
know, make time for my daughter, make time for my wife, make time even with my busy schedule, still make time for those that are important to me.
Right.
You know, so you learn to appreciate. Once you had everything taken from you, you learn to appreciate what you have, and what's you cut out distractions, you cut out certain people that you thought was important that really in the end it's not.
Yeah.
You know?
What do you think it is? Like, what would you say is most important in life?
For me, it's my wife, my kids. I
Yeah.
mean, my family, my immediate family. The one that I made. My wife and my 5 kids.
Yeah.
That's my treasures. That's what matters to me the most. To take care of them, to provide for them, to be there for them.
Hmm. So, what do you say, you know, at some point in your life, you're going to pass away. We all do, right?
Hmm.
And there's going to be a funeral and someone's going to give you eulogy. What would you hope would be one thing that someone would tell you, uh, or would say about you, rather, in the eulogy?
Quite honestly, brother, that if my wife speaks, that I was a good husband. If my kids speak, that I was a good dad. That's
Mm.
it.
Yeah.
That's all that matters to me, brother. And if my friends speak, that was a good friend.
Yeah.
That's it. I think nothing
Hmm.
else matters than that, brother. That people appreciated you, they loved you. That you're known for that. That I was a good husband. I was a, you know.
Yeah.
Oh man, you're making me cry, bro.
It's okay,
Nothing
man.
else
It's
matters, man.
okay. It's important. It's funny. It's funny when the I like I said, I haven't been super public about things going on in my life all the time. These podcasts aren't about me, but I've had some really rough goes, and but it's really especially in the last few years. But it's been really interesting how the worst circumstances in your life really remind you what's most important.
Yeah,
Like it's been like there I've had in the last probably 4 or 5 years the worst and best years of my life at the same time. It's
nice.
crazy. Like I've had situations where the worst things that I could have ever imagined, the biggest nightmares of my life have happened, and the greatest dreams have been fulfilled in the exact same time. And it's crazy how that can happen. And the
Yeah,
reason that that happens is because just because things are bad doesn't mean you quit. You just
exactly.
keep going.
Hmm.
Life goes on. And I love it when people come on and they say their biggest success is their family, or they talk about their kids, because that for me, when I was having to reevaluate and go, okay, so what am I going to spend my time like? Things have happened to me. I have no control over them. What's next? What do I do? My kids. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? And that's where it is. I got to make sure they're okay and
yeah,
spend as much time as I can with them, for them, making sure that they are safe
yeah,
to to repair the damage, and that sounds like what you're doing. And I got to say, I got to praise you, because yeah, when you hear these stories, I'm sure you run into this where people hear your story and they don't know your story, but they hear a restraining order.
yeah.
It's very easy for your ex, I'm sure, to be able to be like, yeah, I got a restraining order on my ex-husband, and he
Hmm.
can't see the kids, and I hasn't seen the kids in 5 or 6 years, and it's very easy for someone to judge you for that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But it's really great to see that despite all of that mess that happened, you're here and you're thriving in important areas, and you're being there for your stepdaughter, your daughter, really,
Yeah, she's
and
doing.
yeah, and being there for your son when he was ready. You know, I gotta say, like it's also amazing to me that you had a situation where you're sitting there and your son is railing on you. I'm guessing some of it might have been true and some of it wasn't.
Hmm.
Most of it probably wasn't. And you sat there and let him do it. And instead of getting angry and saying you're wrong and all that stuff, you just loved him. And that says a lot about you.
Well, you know the story of the prodigal son, right? I mean, I was this dad just waiting for him to come home,
Yeah.
and I threw him a party. I threw him two parties when he came.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you're home, son. That's what happened in the past. We're gonna deal with it. We're gonna do it healthy. You know, I'm gonna work with you, help with you to. If your mom needs to get help, we can help her. I mean, I was like, I'm like offering myself to make things right and do whatever I can in my power to help. That I'm
Right.
not trying to bury her. I'm not trying to, have you not talk to her or hate her or whatever. Like,
Hmm.
whatever I can, whatever resources I can to help, they're there. My resources are yours, son.
Yeah.
So you let me know what you need from me. That's what I told him. What do you need from me? And then when he was here, he's be my dad.
Yeah.
Correct me when I'm effing up. You can tell me whatever you want. I'm not going to take it. He gave me my job back for
Yeah.
dad here. Be dad. You know,
Yeah.
and so I grabbed a hold of that, and I'm on his butt. As much as I can.
Good. Good. Well, if he's 18, he needs it. I
Yeah.
remember. I remember what I was like when I was 18, and I needed someone to straighten me out for
I
sure.
think we always do. I'm 46, brother. I still need it.
Yeah.
We're never
Well,
too grown, man, to hear it from our parents. I don't
that's
think.
an that's another thing that I think is really cool about your story, is that you're almost 46 years old. You're still learning new things and you're still developing. There's no there's no real time is just a construct.
Hmm.
I mean, we're always learning if you're trying.
Yeah.
It's you're never too old to change. You're
Not at
never
all.
too old to become the person that God wants you to be.
Yeah.
And it's never too late to turn the corner and be the person that you're supposed to be.
No,
So,
you're not. As long as you can breathe, man. As long as you got air, lungs. I mean, your lungs are working, your heart's beating, your conscience. I mean, it's never too late, man.
yeah,
I learned right away. I mean, that depression is a part of life.
yeah,
No matter how good things are going, it's something we all deal with. I don't know why people always try to escape it with medication, all these other things. I go, you just gotta face life head on. 'Cause
yeah,
I didn't do the meds. They wanted me on meds. They wanted me on all this stuff. Like, no, I'm gonna go toe to toe.
yeah.
And just take the punches,
Mm,
and
mm,
get back up. And so people don't understand that. That's the the journey of life is you're gonna go through the good times, the bad times, the whole. People are gonna die. People are gonna hurt you. People are gonna stab you in the back. Um, Things are not always gonna go as you perceive them or think are gonna happen. People will let you down. Your parents will let you down. Your spouse will let you down. Your kids are definitely gonna let you down, disappoint you here and there. It
yeah,
happens. That doesn't
yeah,
mean you quit, you give up, you go to alcohol, you go to drugs, you go to whatever. You gotta understand that. And a lot of people nowadays, at least in my opinion, from what I see, they don't want to deal with that. They want to escape into other
yeah,
things and not face it. You know what
yeah.
I mean? Head on. Well,
That's
that
the
makes
thing. That's the thing that I think is really important about life, and what's important is that, like, there's always going to be a tragedy. There's always going to be something that, there's always going to be some sort of darkness. But
hmm
if you're willing to face it, you're going to see that there's more to you than there is that darkness.
yeah.
And there's a scripture out there that says God will never tempt you above that which you can bear.
hmm
And it's not just means that he's not going to, tempt you. You're not going to be able to be tempted with sin, but it also means that he's not he's not going to give you more than
And
you
you
can
can handle.
handle.
Yeah.
And if you can handle it, it's just like going to the gym. You know,
hmm
you get stronger under resistance.
Yeah.
And it's not easy to say that when you're in the middle of the rep. You know what I
No,
mean?
there's pain comes with it.
Yeah. But once you get past it and you look back, you're gonna see that, man, like, I needed exactly that.
hmm
And proud of you, man. I'm proud of seeing where you've been. I met you right before you debuted, or right
hmm
after you debuted. It's been a year, and you are a fast growing star in wrestling. It's been fun to watch your
That sounds
it's
funny to hear.
but it's true. You are, and you give me hope at 40, almost 42, that us old guys have a space there.
Yeah, well, just
And
take care of your body first and foremost. If you can do that, I mean, we can do all right.
yeah, exactly. Well, listen, Ralph, man, it's been awesome to have you on. I really appreciate it. This is the part where I tell everybody, subscribe to the podcast.
Click on the link.
Um, yeah, click on the link and be a part of it. And I'll be out of town. I'll actually be down in LA for WrestleMania, but I will
Oh,
definitely.
enjoy the
But
time with
are
your
you
kids, brother.
are you in ACW the next weekend? Are you going to be there?
No, I'm actually going to start filming the movie, so I won't.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
actually I'm gonna take a few weeks off from wrestling to finish this, just to do the movie.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Well, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right. Well, then I'm sure we'll see each other, at a booking or down the
yeah,
road
I'm sure we will,
for
man.
sure. So it's been great to have you on the Edlow podcast, and everybody who's listening, keep listening. We got more exciting ones coming up. I got relationship coaches coming on.
There you go.
I've got a guy who he's a filmmaker who created a uh, a PBS documentary on trauma, including talking to 9/11 survivors. I mean,
Oh
it's
wow.
been so I got a lot of cool stuff coming up, and so subscribe and keep watching. And like I said, man, it's great to have you on.
No,
So
thank you for having me. I had a great time. Time flew by, man. I
yeah,
appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. And guys, subscribe. All right.
yeah. Thanks,
Thank
man.
you. Thank
All
you,
right,
everybody.
all
Appreciate you
right,
guys, man.
all right. We'll see you.